Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Sam. I'd like to welcome you to my EyeClarity Podcast. This is a show that offers cutting-edge information on how to improve your vision and overall wellness through holistic methods. I so appreciate you spending part of your day with me. If you have questions, you can send them to hello@drsambyrne.com. Now, to the latest EyeClarity episode. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Sam, and I want to welcome you to another EyeClarity podcast. So as part of our Summit series, as you know, I'm putting on my second annual Whole Health Summit, which will be January 14th to the 16th, 2022. We have one of our featured speakers today, and he's an amazing human being. I'm so excited that we could book him. His name is Joshua Townsend Zellner. And let me give you a little background about Joshua. He's been involved in the entertainment industry for all of his adult life, and he has coupled that work with things like yoga and shamanic healing, esoteric worlds. And I've taken some of his workshops, and he's very nature-based, very holistic, especially in the creative process and storytelling. So I want to bring him on. Joshua, it is great to have you on the program. How are you today? How's it going?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for the invitation. Sam, it's such a delight to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So there's so many areas we can go. And by the way, we've got some great questions from followers, so we'll get to those in a few minutes. But I know that you have worked with some incredible writers, actors, performing artists, creatives, and there's something that you talk about, and I'd like you to expand on it if you would. And it's related to the creative process, perception, being present, and awareness. So why don't we open that door and give us a view and your perspective on these things?
Wow, those are three great words. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And what I'm realizing in that moment is, awareness, right?
Yes, awareness.
So I'll
Sure.
take that I'll just take that one word, awareness. Awareness is everything in terms of conscious creation. So right now I'm having the awareness that my head is turned slightly to the right. It's not straight, right? And that creates like a situation like I can hear myself listening more, as opposed to when my head is like straight like this, then I feel more balanced and more like, yes, how can I help you? But here I have like I have an opportunity from a sentient perspective to actually have like more curiosity, more leaning in. Tell me more. Even my ear goes forward a little bit, and that's so interesting to me because awareness and perception are coupled at the highest level. Do you notice that too, or?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's all about awareness for me and listening and, gestures and posture. And somebody walks in and I watch their gesturing and their posturing, and it tells me everything about them. And I would imagine, in your clients, how do you tune into people? They're seeking help in their story or their performance, and they go, I want to work with this guy. How do you, how do you do that? What are some cues and signals that you're observing?
That I'm looking for? Everyone is completely unique, right? So so it really depends upon what's in front of me, what I'm perceiving. And it's very interesting. Oh, what was the third word you asked about? Awareness, perception, and what was the third one? I want to make sure that we get them all. I don't want to leave anything out.
Being present.
Being present.
Perception, being present, awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like being present is the foundation to the awareness and the perception. So if we want to look at it like a triangle or
Sure.
kind of like part of a geodesic dome that you're in right now that sustains everything.
Yes, a lot of triangles behind me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be presence would be on the baseline, and then awareness and perception are the other points. Because perception is very interesting in relationship to what you're talking about, which is the thing of perception actually creates story.
Mm-hmm.
Perception actually creates the story. So I can have a fixed perception, and that will give me a very fixed story perspective. And the more fluid and the more open and the more allowing and the more possibilities I have, more spaciousness to create a richer, more textured, more expansive story, more nuanced. Otherwise, what happens if I have a fixed thing, then we're basically in the land of white hats and black hats, good guys, bad guys, and there's no nuance. There's no possibility of discovery.
Right, sure. And I know you talk about something that you speak about, and I've watched you in your workshops and even on your podcasts. By the way, Joshua's got he had a podcast, Notes on Your Notes, and then I think you have a new podcast. Is that right? Tell us about that one.
Well, we're gearing it up. It's still in development. We're about 4 weeks from launching. It'll be launching the January 7th. And that one's going to be for anyone who's involved in awareness practices, people who want to be more creative. And it's basically like a 3 to 5 minute pit stop that you can do in the world of audio and the audioscape. Get some inspiration and get going with your day. So
great. Wow. We look forward to that. I know you're working hard on it, and we look forward to seeing it and hearing it. So we're here with Joshua Townsend Zellner. He's he's an amazing facilitator, teacher, and helps people light up their creative process through his own teaching process, and that word process. So one of the things I would love to hear from you is the difference between process over results. I know people come to you and they got a script and they got to get it to HBO or wherever they're going, and you kind of reframe it in a really beautiful way. Can you talk about that, process over results?
I feel like the best way to make that land for most people is when you go to a restaurant. So when you go to the restaurant, you order what you order, and your meal gets delivered, and it's in front of you, and that's the result. What you see on the plate is the result of someone else's creative process, and you're going to enjoy that result. You're going to consume it. Oh my God, this was the best. And if you're a foodie, or if you want to recreate that, or you want to do your own thing in the kitchen, then you're going to want to know how they did it. And it's completely okay to be a person who shows up at a restaurant, goes, oh my God, this is the best food, enjoy the results. Like someone who goes to the theater, someone who watches a film, they watch the result and they don't know why it's great. They just know they love it. Then if you're in the creative process, if you need to know how you make that meal, then that's what we do here. We go into like, okay, what was the processes that gave us the result? Some people just think, I just want that result. I don't, I have no interest in the process of how you get there. And I'm like, well, okay, you can be spoon-fed the result once or twice, you know what I mean? But it's not going to be sustaining. You can't run your own restaurant. You can't recreate the meal. And that's the difference. And then on top of that, and I love food. I love kale. I love cacao. Anything that starts with the letter C. So what happens is like, if you were to give someone who had made 1,000 kale salads, 5 ingredients, they could make an amazing kale salad. And if someone had never tasted a kale salad, didn't know what a kale salad was, and you gave them the same 5 ingredients, it wouldn't come out the same, because that first person has curated a process of making that salad, and in that is all the difference. Is that a clear way of seeing it?
Oh, yes. I mean, I just think about the people out there that, come to you, they're actors, or they're comedians, or, they're writers, and here they come to you with a project, and you're like, well, wait a minute, let's step back. And, I've read many of your testimonials, and you've shared some great success stories. Is there one maybe case history, somebody that you've taken from point A to point B in their creative process you'd like to share? Because I know my listeners would love to know, okay, well, we know this guy's got some great stuff. What has he done? How's he helped people?
What's going on over there? What's happening? What's
up? Yeah, what's happening? Where's the magic? We know it's magical, but give us a start to finish, before to after.
Sure. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of people, and someone I feel very comfortable talking about, because we've talked about me talking about our process, is an author named Laura Davis. And she wrote a book recently called The Burning Light of Two Stars. It's available now. It's out. People are loving it. It's great reviews. So I came into that project with her after she'd been working on it for about 8 years on her own. Not entirely on her own, but, working with different people. But 8 years in. And so for 1.5 years, we went through her book and developed story. Now, story is very different than writing, because Laura Davis is an amazing writer. She's a New York Times bestselling author. She's written 7 or 8 books. She's incredibly prolific, an amazing writer. Yeah. Like, I have no notes for her as a writer, 0. When it comes to story, we need to develop the story. We need to tease it. We need to go for depth of entry. We need to do a deep dive. I mean, there's a lot of, words you can use to talk about it. But basically, it's slowing everything down and digging deep into the essence of the story. Because when you do short-term and long-term narrative, it has a very different feeling. So what I mean by that is, if I'm doing an essay that's 3 to 5 pages, I'm not going to get lost in the weeds because it's only 3 to 5 pages. But if I do a book like Laura Davis does, 350 pages, then I have to have a very clear through line on what that story is really about. What am I really trying to drive home? What's connecting all of the dots? So there's that aspect, which is the overriding part that the people, the audience, the readers need to experience. Then there's the nuance work. This is the part that I feel like your audience is going to be more akin to, which is when you go for depth of entry, when you go to carve out what's actually happening in the scene, not the perception of one of the characters, not the perception of the other character, but the actuality of the emotional truth of the moment. And you can open up those layers. Not only do you get a riveting scene, but most of the time you'll get some sort of emotional healing or emotional transformation in that work. And one of the things that Laura Davis told me after our work together for 1.5 years was that she actually felt like she was actually able to perceive, there's that word again, she was able to perceive her relationship with her mother in a completely different way. And she felt there had been some kind of healing or transformation in that process.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that interesting? And so you really
amazing.
Can't change the past. You can change the past through your own perception.
Sure. And this is so exciting that you blend all these different aspects. You're actually facilitating a healing, and this creative expression comes out, and that's kind of what I'm asking for in terms of our summit and your presentation, because it's so healing working with you. You're able to help people access things that even somebody like Laura, who's an amazing New York Times bestseller, and here it is, you were able to launch her in a way that there's no way she could have done that on her own. And that's the kind of stuff that you do with, artists and creatives. And so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting, very layered work,
and nuanced,
it's really
layered.
Endless. It's endless.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah, right. Which brings me to your fans. We have a number of questions that I want to get to. And so I'm going to take this first question. This is from a playwright. I'm not going to say his name. His initials are LS. He's from Chicago. And here's his question to you. Why do you use a quiz to help people access more freedom in their creativity using the elements?
Great question. Always good to ask a good por qué. Por qué.
Okay.
So we human beings are born of nature. Like, we are nature itself. We are an extension of nature, and nature is everywhere. And so since that's the baseline of all creation, why not use that as our template? That's, instead of me having my own personal ideas, or the Stanislavski method, or some sort of externally imposed methodology, why not go direct? Why not go for the tapping the source? So the source is that everyone will agree that we're 60 to 70% water. That's what we're made out of. And there's air all around us. If we don't have air or oxygen, we don't survive. We all need to have fire. We need to have fire in our belly. We need to have fire in the warmth of our house. We need to have fire. And of course, earth. Without earth, that earth is the ultimate place. So those are the four basic foundations. So within that, everyone's going to be creating predominantly from one of those elements. And what we want to do is we want to tap into your strength. So whatever you feel to be your dominant earth element, I call it a creative element, then we want to say yes to that and really nurture it and make sure it's present throughout the process of whatever we're working on, because that speaks to you as an artist. So that's the why. And then if you go to the other side, so you're going to have, there's four of them. There's actually five, but I work with four in this process. So there's going to be one that's dominant, even if it's 49-51, and then the other ones are going to be a little less, and then the one that's least activated is an interesting one to work with as well, to make sure that it's present in the project to whatever degree that needs to be.
Okay.
Because it's the one that you're probably not engaging as much. So that's
interesting.
That's how I work with those.
Okay, that's great. And you have this. What's your website?
Oh, it's my name. Yeah. So I took a lot of creativity with that. I'm like, okay. So Joshua Townsend, and Townsend is spelled Old English with an H, so SHEND.
Yeah.
So joshuatownsend.com, and then from there I'm linked to all the social media. Yeah.
And it is a phenomenal website. I know you've worked on it, and I highly recommend everyone go to it, check it out. There's a lot of information, really cool things. So, all right, let's take another question. This is TJ. He's a comedian from New York. And his question is, what are the steps to help me become more authentic in my performance?
Wow. Go TJ. Authentic in your performance as a stand-up. One of the things that you're going to notice is the people that you resonate with the most in terms of stand-ups are people that you self-identify as being real. Gone are the days. I'm not sure that's 100%, but most of the people that do shtick, like Take My Wife Please, the Henny Youngmans, the people that used to just do one-liners, it's not as popular anymore. And the reason why is because we, as culturally, are hungry for authenticity, for real points of view, to bring in the truth. And the court jester, going back in history, the court jester was always the person in the court of the king that could tell the truth, but it's always veiled through humor. And you see that in Shakespeare plays, and you see that throughout history. And you even see it in the silent movies where Charlie Chaplin or someone like that could tell the truth, the emotional truth of the moment, he wouldn't get killed, or like with a policeman, but a regular person would have. Anyway, so authenticity. So it's so important to be authentic. It's so important. What was the word he used? What word did TJ use?
Authentic in his performance. What are the steps to become more authentic? And,
so what are the,
what are the steps?
So if you want to be authentic to yourself and you want to break it down into steps, then what you would need to do is the first question is, who am I? Who am I? Mm-hmm. Who am I really? And bringing that forward. So it's not like you're trying to imitate another kind of comedian. You're really being authentic to who you are, your background, your point of view, your thoughts and feelings, because comedy is very personal in that way. And you're going to want to double down on that. And then getting clear on what do I want? Because what do I want as a human being? What do I want as a human being maps to who you are and your audience. So if I'm telling jokes as a 20-year-old about going out on first dates, that's going to be authentic, right? What do I want? But if I'm a 50-year-old talking about going out on first dates, that's like insane. It's like, wait a minute, you're 50. How can you be going out on first dates? It doesn't track. So
sure.
It needs to be connected to the state of who am I, the I am state, and connected to what do you want. And the last one is developing your own unique point of view. Now, everyone has thoughts and feelings. Everyone has thoughts and feelings. But what you want to do is you want to be able to identify your point of view, and then make it into statements that give a sense of conflict. Like I love, let's see. I love girls, but I hate going out on dates. That inherently is a conflict. So, and you want to look for conflict because conflict is at the root of comedy.
Wow, that's fabulous. All right, let's take another question. This is from BK. She's a nonfiction writer, lives in Seattle. I just published my memoir, and my book agent wants me to read this book on Audible. And I'm really scared to do it. How do I come across the best way in terms of reading it?
Okay, so the first thing is, she's from Seattle, right? So the first thing is to go to one of those places they have up there and get a really good cup of hot chocolate.
Yes.
So that's step one. That's vital.
Yeah, it's very good up there.
Yeah, very good hot chocolate up in Seattle. It's so much fun. First of all, she's absolutely right. If you're gonna write your own book on any level, you got to turn it into an Audible book. There's no question about that, and there's no question that people want to hear the author's voice. I mean, it's just like, why wouldn't you, right? You don't want to hear some trained thespian, with an English accent. You want to, again, it goes back to authenticity. You want to, and also the person who wrote it has a very intimate relationship with those words, and that has both a plus and a minus. So, but overall, ultimately, if you can work with it, it is a plus. So what I mean by that is if I write the material and I'm so close to it that I can't see it anymore, right? Can't see the forest for the trees, then sometimes what happens is you kind of railroad the narrative down a certain line. So you want to be able to back up, see it from a larger perspective, and have fun with it. And she wanted to know what are the first steps on getting real with it. The first thing is do not read it left to right, and do not practice it in your head. Practicing things in your head is death, because that's not how it's going to get executed. And then you kind of create this thing in your head, and then you can't ever replicate it, and you get frustrated because it goes on and on. So what you really want to do is and this is going to sound funny, is that you're going to want to have it printed out in thoughts. We, as human beings, do not speak in sentences. We, as human beings, think in thoughts, just like now. Like, I don't have a script right now, right? You don't have a script right now. So what happens? How does language come up and out of us? Well, we have thoughts and feelings, and then something, creates a concern, and then we want to share. And then we have these word packets that we throw out, sound good, and that someone else hears, and they go, oh yeah, that sounds right. But I don't think of it, what I just said, as a sentence. And when you start listening for this, and it's so interesting, let me see if I can replicate it without having it. And so in the beginning of the summer, Sam and I went to the forest, and we had a really good time. So you can tell that there was a line break on we, because I took a pause because my eyes had to go from the end of the sentence to the beginning of the sentence. But a human being goes, Sam and I went to the forest or the lake, and we had a really good time. We never wanted the sun to set. That's a thought.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is, since you've just been hammering it as an author to create this beautiful sentence or whatever, unfortunately, you need to dismantle that. And one of the ways to dismantle it is to write everything in thoughts and throw away all of the punctuation.
Oh my God. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. That is solid gold, what you say there. So I know that that's going to really help her, because I know her, and that's going to be, I hope she calls you and works with you, because I think you could take her book to the next level. So thank you for that. And she thanks you.
Sure.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. This is IC. He's an actor from LA. He's from your town. I've been trying to break into the acting community here. I've been following you, and I read this on your blog. Create, release, and relax. Can you explain how these could help my acting?
Well, first of all, his initials are fantastic. IC, which is just goes
Isn't
right
that great?
with,
Yeah.
with your program. IC.
Exactly. That's why I chose him.
Yes. And maybe his name is Ian. Okay, IC. So create, release, relax. It's at the foundation of every creative process. It's at the foundation of all of nature. It's at the foundation of how we all exist on this planet. So we create something, like let me take it down to its base. We create something, an inhale. You know what I mean? That's you created an inhale. And then you have to release the inhale, which then becomes an exhale. And then you have to relax, meaning there's a little moment between your next exhale and inhale. So it's the same thing when you're on stage. You need to create something. You need to create a line. You're going to create your line of dialogue. You're going to create a certain moment. You're going to throw out an improv sentence or something of that ilk. So I've created something. Let's say I create an angry moment of get out of my house, right? So I create this anger. So that's the first part. I create a state of being. And then I release it saying, get out of my house. I never want to see you again. And in that moment, from a creative perspective, I need to relax so I can perceive what the other actor is going to do in that moment in relationship to what I just did. See, what happens is if you don't go into an inner state of relaxation, and you're going to say, well, the character's not relaxed. And granted, sometimes people get so livid, they get so upset. You work with this all the time. They get tunnel vision, right? Their possibilities of what's possible, what's next, doesn't come up anymore. But the artist needs to be in a state of creation. So the artist needs to be able to stay present, to be able to see what the other actor is doing in that real-time moment and respond accordingly, according to the other character's reality. And if I don't do that, if I just do what we did in rehearsal, then it's just repetitive. It's just like the other person's not listening, you're not listening, the other person's not listening. It just goes down this really weird place. And then you're like, well, they weren't really listening to each other. Well, I don't understand why this happened, because the engagement broke. So and then I have to go back to creating something, releasing and relaxing. So it's at the foundation of it. It's a very nuanced thing to use in performance, and yet it's vital. And then you can also look at it like, and this is where actors need to do it a lot. Actors need to do it when they go to auditions. When I go to an audition, I create it, I release it to the room, and when I leave that room, it's like, vaya con Dios, buenas noches, have a great day, and truly let it go. That's a great place to practice, create, release, relax.
Well, I hope he calls you, because I think there's a lot you could help him with, and he's local, so
yeah, he's local.
I'll encourage that. Yeah. So we're here with Joshua Townsend Zellner. He's one of our featured speakers at my upcoming Holistic Health Summit. And we have one last question. This is from DS. He's a filmmaker. He actually lives in Hawaii. And he says, I'm thinking about doing some sessions with you. I know I need to bring my body into my writing. What would be one exercise or practice you would recommend for me to start doing this more?
My body. Yes, my body lies over the ocean. So, yeah, he's on the other land of Hawaii. So, state of being is the first thing that comes up, because the state of being lives in our body. And so, engaging a specific state of being. And what I mean by a state of being is how the character thinks and feels, and let it permeate the entire body. And then always create from that perspective. Always create when you're in a state of being. Don't just sit down and write. Don't just sit down and rehearse your lines. That will do little to nothing for you. It's akin to basically what we were trained to do growing up in grade school. And how much do you remember of anything of import from grade school? You know what I mean? It's just hammering. Yeah. What was that? What was that thought, Sam?
Well, that thought is that it just stays like a mental exercise or something that's rote. And, in the creative, for me, I've never accessed, if I'm shooting a video blog, I got to do a body-centered practice for a while, and then something clicks. And that's why I put this question in, because, this guy is a filmmaker. That's what he does for a living. And now he's talking about his body, which is interesting.
It's vital. It's vital as a filmmaker, because what you're capturing on film is a sensation. It's a feeling. Filmmakers live in the land of images and impressions, sights and sounds, which is, it's different than a writer. We all live in different worlds. Some people are visual artists, some people are sculpt words, some people sculpt clay. But what I was interested in, Sam, was this intersection between healing and creativity. Because I feel like that's I feel like, well, definitely definitely in the medical allopathic medical world, there's no creativity. It's like, here are these rules, follow these 3 things, and call me in the morning, right, or next week or next month, and don't forget to bill insurance. But it's very much systematized. and to bring in this thing of creativity as a part of your healing process. Wow. Because I know you're down that road. What's your feeling about that?
Well, it's an alchemical process, and there is a level of uncertainty or unknown. And the more open you can receive and be in that alchemical unknowing or not knowing, then the body can heal. And if you're given some prescribed, say, synthetically made drug, or something that has already been choreographed or scripted, it might get rid of the symptoms, but then the problem is going to resurface in another expression, and there you go. But as a money-making model, allopathic medicine, it's a great model. Oh, my glasses don't work anymore. Yeah, we'll come back and we'll make them stronger. I get to sell you another pair. And, so it's a great business model for the CPA. But for what we're talking about, which is growth and expansion and transformation and transcendence, I think that the creativity piece, and I've seen how you have brought that in through your different practices, nature-based, and some of the other things, the shamanic practices and body-centered things that you offer. So it's why it's in some ways it's a parallel universe. We're really doing the same thing, but we're just maybe naming it differently. And I want people to be exposed to you, because I don't even think they're thinking about that. And most people are wounded in their creativity. I had a lady that she said to me, I got a D in art in first grade. I was like, what? How do you give a first grader a D? And here she's 55 years old, and she's walking around with that D on her report card still. So I'm going to be sending her to you. And it happens all the time. So again, it's that intersection, and we talk about it, you and I talk about it a lot off camera, but I wanted to introduce my community to you, because I feel that there are so many people out there that could get into their creativity, and they went to music school, or they went to art school, and so they're in this box that they're prisoners of their schooling. And I think one of the things that you really bring out is improvisation. You want to get into that improvisational spirit, and you create a safe environment for people to do that. So, it's why I brought you on, and I feel you have this of many other things, but this is one thing that you have to offer. So there you go.
Thank you. Well, first of all, for that lady, I would say I would have given her a D+. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I would have given her a D. No, but that is the problem. That is the essential problem, is that you bring in something that's the creative arts, and you're introduced to it most of the time in school. And because you're in school, you have to be graded, which is now a result, which you've actually taken away, which is full circle in our conversation today. You've taken away the process, because now people are not interested in the process. They're interested in what grade they got. She doesn't remember how much art she created that year. She only remembers the D. And it's insanity. The other thing that you brought up that really gets me excited is you said that doctors give prescriptions, right? Right? And part of prescriptions is a script.
Yes, right.
Because you talked about a script. It's like, you have to be on script, right? And that's actually, you're absolutely right. The script gives you the hard form that you cannot break out of. And we culturally speaking, we as artists, as humanitarians, we need to be able to, I call it I call it something, but you want to be able to break the glass of the moment. That's what I call it. It's the glass of the moment, which is the pre-prescribed way it should go. And I also say, make it go another way. Like, make your life go another way. Make your interaction with the person on the other side of the counter go another way. Don't let it go down the way it always, I was here yesterday and I didn't get a refund and you know what I mean? It's like, make it go another way. Like, wow, you have such a great smile. Can you process this for me? Thanks.
Yeah.
Another way, break the script, which is part of your thing, which is the prescription, which I love.
Yes. Well, we are coming down to the end of our show today. So Joshua, how can people connect with you? How can they find your amazing content and start working with you?
Yeah, so it all starts with joshuatownsend.com, Townsend with an H. There is a free quiz on the website that you can tap into a little more about your creativity, find out which creative element you are, which of the four. And it's self-diagnosed, and if you don't agree with it, you can always take the test again because it's free. It's a quiz.
It's free.
It's fun. And then, it's really about conscious creation, right, Sam? I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're here to consciously create our lives, our art, our projects, whatever it is. And so don't, start by, contacting me, of course, immediately, but start right away. It's like, start becoming more aware of your thoughts and your feelings, your state of being, making sure that you're tapping into your own creative state of being that you want to create from. And get off this, it's almost like a junkie. We're all addicted to the linear line. You know what I mean? And get off the lines. Like people talk about lines of Coke. Lines of Coke are addictive, yes, but so is having a prescribed life that you're so habitually addicted to that you cannot not do. Check that out. Like, what behaviors can you not do? What behaviors are you so locked into, or point of view, how you think and feel, that you're so locked into, that you're so invested in, that you're not willing to give it up, even though it's hurting you? And we all have those. And it's time for us to start breaking open these things and living in the moment, moment to moment. And now, as my awareness, continues, I notice that I'm coming full circle, that my head's leaning to the right again, just like how we started our conversation. My whole body's listening to you, Sam. What's going on with you? What thoughts and feelings come up?
What's going on? Gratitude and to be continued. That's what's going on. So I think we're going to end it here. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Joshua, for being on, and look forward to our future.
I can't wait to be on the summit. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it'll be great to have you on the summit and beyond. So thanks so much for your generosity today. And all right, folks. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from the EyeClarity Podcast show today. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. See you here next time.